All right. Good evening, family. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. Thank you for being here. I am David Collins, and I am excited. I'm pumped. I'm excited. I'm thrilled to finally be bringing this to you. This is a new platform that has been on my mind for a while, and I've been looking forward to sharing it with you. And here we are. This is called Broken for This. If you've known me for a little while, then you've known that this has been something that we've been kicking around for the last 5 years, Ashley and me. And we have finally made the decision to, to take this project to the next phase and use it as an opportunity to encourage you and to give you more than just me, to give you an opportunity to share your story too. And I wanted to take today and explain to you why the Broken for This platform exists and, you know, what we're hoping to do with this platform and how you can get involved if you would like to. And I'm going to start that by sharing my own story. I hope, my prayer is that if you can see some transparency going on, you can see that there's hope after whatever you've been through. And I'm going to share some of the high end, certainly the low points of my own experiences in life and how they have gotten me to this place. So, uh, thank y'all for those of you who've been praying and supporting and encouraging. This has been a long time coming for me, but I'm really glad to be doing it. I really am. And I'm just double checking, making sure everything is working. If anybody is watching live, if you're on Facebook or on YouTube, let me know that it's working. Hey, Sister Diana, thank you so much. Hey, glad to see you. ATL is in the building. Good to see you. All right. And I'm just checking a couple things here, making sure we are all good. I believe we are. Good, good, good. All right. So, um, this also, if you are a podcast person more than you are YouTube or Facebook, I did go ahead and create a Broken for This channel. Um, so there's a podcast uh, on Spotify right now. Went live today. So if you're in the following podcast on Spotify, you can search for Broken for This. Is broken the number for this, all one word, and you'll be able to find the first interview that I did with Chaplain John Lee Hooker, which I really hope that you enjoyed as much as I did. Man, he's a dynamic preacher and a really, really good dude. If you hadn't seen it, go back and check that out. But I got a couple of notes here, some just to keep me on track. Some of what I want to cover with you tonight about why broken for this. Why am I getting on here and telling all my dirty secrets, or at least sharing the most challenging things in my life? And I want you to be able uh, to see, because this is going to be an ongoing thing. My hope is to get an episode to you maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks, depending on how things are going. I don't want to overcommit, but that's my hope. We'll see. And turn off my notifications here. Yeah, cool, good. Um, so as you're making your way in, feel free to say hello to one another. If you're catching this after the fact, we appreciate it if you leave a comment and let us know what you think. All right, thank y'all so much. So why broken for this? In throughout my life, I have noticed that a lot of the experiences that I thought would make me unqualified to help anybody else, the things that I would be ashamed of, or the things that I would feel guilty about, things that happened to me. Hey, John, God bless you. Glad to see my brother John Nelson in the building. Uh, it is it has been my experience that I have been most useful to people when I have been most transparent. And the things that I thought would disqualify me to help anybody else have actually been the reason that I've been relatable to people. And I don't want to lose out on that um, because I'm too ashamed to tell my story, to tell the truth about what happened. Um, to me in all these different experiences. So that's why I'm sharing that with you today. It's that I want you to see, I want to model this thing. I want you to see that you too can heal and learn and grow and be stronger because of what you've gone through, and that perhaps you can be the change that you want to see in the world. That you can be the difference. I like to think about it like this: that I am being the kind of person that I wish I had in my corner in some of those dark times. You know what I'm saying? So that's what this is all pointed at. It's not the goal is not to quickly explain, give you a 30-second or 30-minute or an hour long summation of your struggle, and then just say, this is really easy. Just build a bridge and get over it. It's not that at all. It's gonna for me, it's been a years long process of working through what took me years to learn bad habits. It's taken me years to work my way into better habits. John Nelson says often, you got to keep doing the hard thing till the hard thing becomes easier. And I am a firm believer in that. It is so true. So, so true. So I am trying to embody that for you right here. I am a little bit about me. I am right now, I am a pastor of a small church in Valdosta, Georgia, Clydeville area called New Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church. This is not the platform where I'll be necessarily preaching sermons or doing Bible studies. That'll be over on the New Mount Zion channel or in person at New Mount Zion. So this is a little different. This is just an opportunity for me to share a little more personal stuff. I don't want to take the pulpit hostage and use it as a way to talk about me. But I do want to give some opportunities um, for you, especially for those of you who are watching, those of you who are listening, to maybe get involved and be a part of this, to come on here and do interviews like I did with Chaplain John Lee Hooker Jr., so that you can tell your stories, because maybe my story isn't the one that's going to connect with somebody who's struggling. Maybe it's yours. And I want you to be able to do that. I want you to be able to experience that. So I don't know why my glasses are crooked. Maybe my ears are crooked. Mm, bother me. I'll be all right. Um, so broken for this is what Ashley and I came up with. That sometimes the most difficult things in our life make us feel broken, make us feel defective, make us feel useless. And what I've learned in my life, is that the uh, the difficult times in my life have actually equipped me and prepared me to help other people. James in the Bible, book of James, chapter 1 and verse 2 says, "Consider it great joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you experience various trials, because you know the testing of your faith produces endurance. And let endurance have its full effect, so that you may be mature and complete, lacking nothing." And I can tell you from firsthand experience that there's a lot of things that I wouldn't choose to go through again. They were very difficult stuff that I didn't know I could get through. But I am ultimately grateful that I have endured those things, because they've made me who I am now. They've allowed me to connect with people in a way that I never would have been able to before. Uh, I've got the first series of videos that I'm going to do on this channel, on this podcast, this platform, this YouTube channel, wherever you're watching this, on Facebook. Um, I'm going to be focusing on my own story. And if you're just meeting me, I'll give you the Cliff Notes version, and I'm going to share um, some of the work that I'm doing. This has all kind of come from my my own therapeutic journey. I've been in therapy for the last uh, what year is it? 2025, almost 8 years, that I started processing some of the trauma that I experienced. Diagnosed while I was in the Air Force with complex post traumatic stress disorder, or CPTSD. And as I've been going through the process of figuring out why I do what I do, and why I make the unhealthy choices that I make and the healthy choices that I make, and what are the lies that I'm telling myself, what are the things I need to overcome. um, One of the things that if you've ever been in therapy, one of the things that you learn is that journaling, writing down your thoughts, is hugely beneficial. And I've learned a lot about myself in my own writing. and I'm writing a book right now. I'm in the process of writing it now, so I don't have a book to plug at the moment. Um, but it's a memoir that I'm working on, and it is written in the form of letters written to my biological father to say things to him that I never got a chance to say, or I didn't have the presence of mind to say, or that I didn't, So I'm kind of looking at my life through that lens and using that as a way to express that to you. I know I'm not the only person who grew up with some parental issues, who grew up without a father, things like that. And even, even in that, my goal is not to draw attention to me, but it's to show you that, yeah, even in something like that, that you can come through that. So actually, in this episode, I'm going to be sharing the first of those letters. So y'all pray for me because that's a tough thing. I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm excited about it, but I know that it's a necessary thing. So I'll be sharing that here in just a little bit. Let me pull that up here. All right. Yep. Got it. Okay, good. Just making sure I got all my different screens set up. Y'all can't see the behind the scenes, but I'm just making sure it's all where it needs to be, and it is. So let's do that. Okay. Um, Let me go back to my notes, make sure I get everything. So yeah, that's why I'm sharing. I would rather it's not that that I think I'm anybody special or that everybody needs to listen to me. It's more that I know that suffering is something that's common, and especially among men, especially men of color. If we just be honest, a lot of times our society tells men in general, don't cry. Real men don't cry. Suck it up and get over it. And we just where in society it's women in America anyway, it seems normal for women to show those kind of emotions and tears, but a lot of times as men we stuff those things down, and it we distill it in a pressure cooker. We push it all the way down and it becomes anger and rage and becomes this unhealthy thing, and I am just learning that it's better out than it is in. And so I don't really, I'm just to the point of my life where I'm not that concerned about trying to look artificially strong. I'd rather you see me being strong, even in times where I'm feeling weak. I'd rather you see me be bold so that you see that you can do the same thing. Um, so that's what I'm trying to do here, y'all. It really is. Uh, my experience and the journey that kind of got me here has been, not only will I talk about, my relationship with my dad, I know that I'll be talking about my time in the military. I'll be talking about the and then how all those things kind of intersect, how it affected my relationships and how it's made me who I am now. I'm not who I'm trying to be. I'm hoping I'm gonna be a better person tomorrow, but I do want to give you a view into the life of somebody who's doing that difficult work. And I say to my church often, don't study me, you won't graduate. I don't put myself forward as a guru or an expert, but I'm just along in this journey with the ability to, and with the ability to share with you some things that I pray will be a help to you as you go on through your struggles. That you feel seen, that you feel something I say connects with you in a way that is helpful. All right. So I think what I'll do is I'll start off with this letter. It's the first letter in my book um, of letters to my dad, to my biological father. Um, and I want to just give you a trigger warning. I think that's probably worth saying. That is going to talk about. There's some accounts of physical abuse here, some violence in this letter because it's true. And so if that's something that's difficult for you to listen to, um, it might be that you need to, this might not be the episode for you to hang in and listen all the way through right now. Or as you start to, if you're like me, and hearing about those kind of things can be troubling, it might be that you need to take a break here and there. No big deal. You can always come back and listen. I didn't want to make that, I didn't want to give you the disclaimer up front. All right. So I'm going to put this, I've got the letter up on my screen and I am going to read it as it is. And if anyone does have, comments or questions or anything that you'd like to cover, I am keeping an eye on the chat. What's going on, Brother Joe? Good to see you. And I'm happy to interact with you. But I'm also happy to just talk as I'm a preacher, so I'm used to talking while people listen. But if you do have comments or you got some questions or whatever, I'm happy to respond to those because I can see the live chat as I'm sitting here. All right. And each of these letters is titled and has a year. So this one is 1986. I was 3 years old when this event happened, and it's called The Day You Became Real. So I'll just start reading. Dear Dad, for as long as I can remember, I had some knowledge of who you are, even though you weren't around. Every so often, your name came up, and we'd have a short talk about your choice not to be in our lives. One time, you'd come up when Kim and I were looking at picture albums. Kim and I loved trying to guess who was in the pictures, and there were a few pictures of you in those albums. We would sometimes ask questions about who you were, what you were like, and why you weren't a part of our lives. Mom was always honest with us about you. She told us you were married before and how smart and charismatic you were. She spoke of the fond memories she had of living with you in Houston, Texas, near your family. We loved your parents and the rest of your family. You came up every now and again, but only in passing. Mom also said that you had serious problems with anger and drinking, both of which surfaced very suddenly in your otherwise harmonious relationship. She told us how your drinking changed your personality. One night you came home and beat her up. Mom said she left shortly after that night. So we grew up in Georgia at grandma's. Mom was pregnant with me. Kim was in diapers, so it made sense that she left. She never talked bad about you and even said that if you ever wanted a relationship with me and Kim, she'd support that connection. This just became a part of my life. We lived at grandma's house because you hurt mom, and maybe one day we'd be reunited. In a way, you were like a ghost, only existing as a collection of memories. But all that changed in a moment when I was about. Kim and I were looking through photo albums, like always. We happened on a stack of Polaroids tucked into the back of one of the albums. They were obviously pictures of mom, but not like we'd ever seen her. Mom's face was covered in bruises and scrapes. Her typical gleeful, carefree smile was nowhere to be seen. She looked panicked and fear stricken. I don't think I'll ever forget her eyes, bloodshot and droopy. Without anyone saying it, I knew this was your doing. In those moments, we went from you went from being simply an idea to being a full-fledged monster in my mind. Something about seeing the tangible results of your rage made it seem more real than ever. You seem more real than ever. And suddenly, you felt like a threat to us. We were frightened and overwhelmed, Kim and me, so we called for mom and grandma. We showed them the pictures we found, and that triggered a conversation that was much deeper than we'd ever had about you or what happened that night. Mom confirmed the pictures were the ones that she took when she first escaped from Houston to Georgia. She steadied herself and talked in detail about what happened the night you heard her. Her shaky voice still echoes in my ears. Mom talked about how your anger and alcoholism worsened very quickly and without warning. Tears welled up in her eyes. The night she left, Kim was nearly 2 years old. Mom was 5 months pregnant with me. You came home in a drunken rage and began screaming and cursing at her. Mom didn't even know what you were angry at. She remembered pleading with you to calm down, but it only made you angrier. She didn't even know what you were mad about. It was like you just became someone else who she'd never met. You pounced on her without warning, and she was instantly overwhelmed. Mom's gaze became distant, and she began to shake like she was reliving it all over again. felt so helpless. He hit me. He kicked me. He threw me, she said between sobs. Mom screamed to you that Kim was sleeping nearby, and thank God for some reason that made you cease your attack. You left home abruptly, and mom was left dazed and in agony in every sense of the word. Mom recounted the terror she felt as she spent the night sleeplessly worrying that you would kill her and me, maybe Kim. By the morning, she said you'd sobered up and you tried to apologize and take her out to breakfast. Mom was already past that point, though. Her face was bruised and battered, and she just wanted to be out of the house. She took Kim to her usual daycare facility, an excellent excuse to get out of there. Even though the daycare workers had concern written on their faces, and they saw mom's black eye and bruises, mom insisted she'd just been in a car accident and needed to drop Kim off for a few hours so she could run some errands. Mom called grandma and let her know what you'd done and that she was leaving that day to come to Georgia. She went back home to gather a few belongings and was grateful that you weren't home to impede her escape. Mom grabbed some clothes, Kim's diaper bag, with my sister in her arms and me in her belly. She left for the airport, knowing it would likely be the last time we were together as a family. She was terrified that you would find her missing and chase her. Thankfully, she was able to make the next flight out of Houston. She called grandma to tell her. Grandma agreed to meet mom at the airport. Grandma took over the story from here. She remembered watching mom come down the plane's jetway, looking almost unrecognizable. Grandma said her heart broke when she saw her daughter so obviously wounded. Mom's face and arm were covered with red marks, and she ran to grandma crying that she didn't know if you were on the next flight coming to finish what you'd started the night before. Grandma is a spiritual powerhouse, a devout Christian whose faith kept her calm even in the most dire of circumstances. But standing there with her bruised and bloody daughter sobbing in her arms, she wanted you dead. Her jaw clenched at the mention of it, and I knew she meant every word. When they got home from the airport, my uncle saw my mom too, and they instantly wanted vengeance for their brutalized sister. Badly as grandma wanted to join the lynch mob, she had a moment of clarity. She begged them not to seek you out. She said it would do mom no good to lose her husband and her brothers in the space of a couple of days. It wouldn't be any benefit to mom for them to go after you. Mom needed her brothers. Him and I needed their uncles. Grandma's cool headed approach prevailed that day. For the next few years, our family drew closer together than ever without you. Mom let you know that you were welcome to contact us, but you stayed away. We didn't know why you chose not to reach out to us, but I figured we were all better for it. In that moment, with those Polaroids in front of me, my mom and my grandma emotional, me and Kim on a roller coaster of emotions. The world that I knew fundamentally changed. This wasn't just violence on television or a movie. It was real. It involved my mother, someone I knew, someone I loved, someone I admired. How could you, Dad? How could you hurt her like that? She was pregnant with me. How could you endanger my life? Since you weren't around to answer those questions, I found my own answers. With all the conviction that a 3-year-old could muster, I promised myself that I would never allow my anger to overtake me. If anger could turn a loving, caring husband into a ravenous beast, I wanted no part of it. I quickly developed a crippling fear of anger. If rage could transform you into a monster, that means I was at risk too. No, I thought I would never become you. Would I? To this day, still can't stand watching TV shows or movies that depict violence against women or children. I can remember plenty of times leaving the room when something like that came on the screen or having to rush out of a movie theater when that kind of thing was playing out. Mom usually left the room with me, and it wasn't always clear who was comforting whom in those moments. As much as your anger frightened me, I found inspiration in how mom and grandma handled all of this. I wasn't even born when this happened, but they lived through it and never forgot it. Still, they refused to allow their injuries to change who they were. They found forgiveness for you, even though you weren't really asking for it. I wonder how anyone could endure such hardships and still keep the door open for you to be a part of your children's lives. To me, they were more than remarkable. They were superheroes. They were the antithesis of you. I pledged to myself that I would be a peacemaker no matter what life threw at me. When I felt anger, I stuffed it down. Somebody wanted to engage me in a schoolyard brawl, I walked away, made a joke, anything to avoid acting on my anger, anything to avoid becoming the next you. I went all the way through school, never got into a physical altercation. I would live by the mantra. I still do. But I've never come across a situation a bad attitude can't make worse. People had no idea, though, that under that seemingly carefree, unbothered veneer was a quivering little boy staring at Polaroids of his mother. That's not all, though. Being a peacemaker kept me out of trouble. Kim and I almost never fought growing up. Seeing all that really galvanized our sibling relationship. That moment, almost 40 years ago, marked the beginning of my personal mental development. Being afraid of you, afraid of becoming you, is my first emotional memory. And my journey was just beginning. So that's the first letter in the series of letters that I'm doing. Um, like I said, it started off as a function of my therapy, something that I was doing for my own healing. And now, the more that I've shared it with a few people, some of you in the chat, I've had the opportunity to read this letter and some of the other ones. And the response has been surprising to me in some ways. Um, I think when you start to share something that is so personal and something that can be so embarrassing, something so emotional, uh, the more you hold that in, the more you think if anybody knows the real me, they're going to think I'm, and then you fill in the blank, soft, weak, not manly, whatever, all the kind of things that we tell ourselves emotionally. Um, but what I found though was that people understood and that people were willing to hear me out, that people were identifying with the way that I felt. And I am, even though I'm not excited, I wouldn't say that I'm looking forward to sharing all this with you. A lot of what I went through, a lot of the solitude and shame that I felt, the silence that I imposed on myself, I just wish that I had known that I had the option to speak up and put words to those feelings. I just didn't know. And I don't want anybody as far as I can do anything about it. I don't want anybody to do what I did and blame themselves for things that have nothing to do with them. My therapist Stephanie, I know she'll watch this at some point. I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Thank you for putting up with me for the last 8 years, helping me to make sense of my life that was crumbling around me when we met. Um, so it's so tempting to let that vicious inner voice and the negative experiences in your life, the painful things that happen. And my journey with my dad was not just about those pictures. He and I had a lot of interactions that ended horribly. And you know, I'll just tell you, when you have that kind of a reference trauma, when you have that kind of when your life so early your innocence is compromised, you start kind of building a narrative in your head. I started building a narrative in my head, I'll say. Um, like I said in the letter, I had everybody would tell me, and if you follow me on Facebook, if you're my Facebook friend or anything, I post pictures of myself and my dad. We look, man, we can't deny each other. That dude looked like we look alike. And when I was growing up, I remember how often, and I'll say this in letters coming up, but it's just true that especially my dad's family and people who knew him well would say how much I look like him, how much I sound like him. If you know my dad, you know I'm telling the truth. And as much as I was, as much as a kid can be proud that he looks like his dad, me, those Polaroids fanned out like a deck of cards for me. And whenever I heard someone saying, you know, you look like your dad, you sound just like your dad, you're smart like him, he did this, you did that, both you're musicians, you both like jazz. All I heard was clock's ticking. One day you're gonna be him. That's something that I don't think I really it took I think I'm just now making sense of that, and getting past that we create these kind of self-fulfilling prophecies in our minds. And, in especially in the military, that gave me a perfect excuse to feed all of those negative things with a heavy helping of alcohol. And I found myself often thinking, man, here it is. Here I am falling into the same thing. Um, but I'm grateful that none of that stuff was true. I told myself, there was fear that pushed me and limited the way that I interacted with people. I stuffed down parts of myself because I was afraid that they were going to mutate into the man who was responsible for those pictures. And one of the things that my therapist told me is that I need to practice more healthy and uplifting self-talk. Uh, that I need to speak to myself the way that I would talk to somebody I love. And it is John said, I think a more accurate story is that you're the man your dad could have been. That's deep, John. That's deep. I appreciate your saying. That's heavy. But if if somebody who I care about reached out to me and said, I am the child of an abusive alcoholic absentee father, and I think that he's not around because I wasn't a good enough son. I would never tell them, yeah, man, you're right. You're probably awful. But that's what I say to myself. That's the kind of lie that I would tell me. And, you know, I think that in a lot of ways, uh, emotionally anyway, I spent a lot of time being a public success and a private failure. And I'm just now crawling my way through some of those negative thought patterns that crippled me for so long, that made it hard for me to appreciate accomplishments, that I really wanted my dad to see me. So whether I was joining the Air Force, I want to talk to him. I graduated from I became a special agent in the Air Force. I wanted to see him. I wanted him to be there. When I got married, I wanted him at the ceremony. When I got licensed to preach, I wanted him to know, you know, every significant place in my life was another opportunity for me to try to, get a nice Hallmark movie, Tyler Perry movie ending to this saga that had gone so wrong from the beginning. And that's the kind of things that you do when when you're psyching yourself out, when you're living in secrets and solitude and shame, when you're, you know, living in fear. And I'm really, really grateful that I'm not doing that anymore. So grateful. I've taken the winding path towards healing. I don't recommend you do it my way. Um, but I am grateful for for how God has kept me. My faith in God has been a huge anchor that has kept me. I used to look to my grandmother and just see that she looked like, you know, she looked so settled. And I know that she didn't always have it together. When I talked to her about this when she was alive, you could still see the anger in her eyes but it would soften when she would talk about, realizing that she had to be merciful, just like God was merciful with her. Woo! Can you imagine? I'm really grateful for how for how my life has developed. I'm really grateful for what I've experienced. Not that I like everything that happened, but it really has prepared me. Now as a pastor, with some of the experiences that I have, it's real hard to catch me flat-footed. It's real hard for me to be like, "What? I can't imagine." I can connect with people in a way, and I can see people. I can see through that mask a lot because I know what it's like to wear one. Uh, I think it's been, I'm confident, and I still got a ways to go. I really do. But I think for the first time, I'm, I'm at a place where I'm willing to let some people in, let people know what's going on, and use my story as a way for you to see that whatever it is that you've experienced, because everybody doesn't have to have my story. You could have grown up in you know, I'm not saying everybody's got that may not be everybody's story, but it is mine. And, I have shared it with other people and found that there's hope and there's purpose in all of this kind of stuff. I wish I could tell you that my journey, with my dad ends in, the end of The Color Purple, where he comes into the church and we hug and we're singing whatever the song is. Maybe God's trying to tell you something, whatever. But that's not how my story ends. Um, to be, maybe the fourth quarter of the book. But on my birthday, 2019, I got the phone call that, my estranged father had taken his own life. I found out on my birthday. Like, I still hate birthdays and Father's Day right now. I'm not really a fan. Um, and even that experience was eye-opening for me. Uh, I realized how much of my life had been building towards reconciliation with somebody who himself wasn't mentally healthy, who didn't have it to give. And then I realized that I had to be in that moment, I could fall into, and for a while, I'll be honest, I fell into a deep, dark place. Ashley can tell you, man, it was awful. Yeah, and none of my prayers were the kind that you'd hear come from the pulpit. They were. It was a bleak moment for me. Um, but I realized um, how much of my life I had been funneling through this filter of trying to be good enough for my dad. That's some, you know, it's just true that I really wanted to be seen by him. I really wanted, of all the people who could see me, mom could tell me I did great. My stepdad could tell me that he was proud of me. My wife could love me, the church, but I really wanted to hear it from him. I really wanted it to mean it. I had leveraged my future, my emotional well being on somebody else, and they're seeing me. And that led me down a really, really perilous road when that was no longer an option. And I say that to say that there's that I needed And I'm glad that I have a sense of peace about all of that stuff right now. That's why I'm sharing it with you guys here today. Why I'm going to keep sharing it. Um, because I don't want, again, I'm trying to be the kind of friend, the kind of pastor, the kind of, the kind of whatever I am to you. I'm trying to be that for you. And I'm trying to be what I didn't know to ask for. And trying to give you the opportunity to learn from my mistakes. Don't spend 40 years of your life, you know, checking back into a memory from when you're 3 or building your life and your personality on trying not to be somebody. I just so much of it, and we're going to talk about it more in this series. Like I said, I intend to um, talk about it more as the weeks go on. I'm sure we'll be on this topic for a long time. Um, but I do want you to. I just want to share some of those things in the hopes that there's somebody like me out there who's watching, who's listening, that they can be encouraged to see I'm wearing the shirt on purpose, that you don't have to surrender to those darkest days. You really don't, and as much as I could look back and say, oh, there was so much negative and it really, it hurt me, it shaped me, but it also equipped me in a way that I don't think I ever would have. As an agent, as a child forensic interviewer when I was in the military, talking to children who are they're on the worst day of their lives, that gave me purpose. I had some extra stuff in the tank because of what I endured. And the same thing as a pastor. Just as a friend, I noticed that I am more useful than I thought I could be. And that's not just a me thing, that's a you thing. That all of us, uh, you know, even though the things that we've gone through, those insecurities and senses of inadequacy and those traumatic experiences feel like the thing we should just hold in forever, never let anybody see. My experience has been when I've surrounded myself with healthy, loving people who care about me, has been that I have a whole lot more support than I realized along the way. And the problem a lot of times was me. The problem was that I was too scared to let people see what I was really like under all that. I didn't want people to see. Sometimes people ask how you're doing. I lied so much. That's the most common lie I've told in my life is that I'm fine. Now I'm saying it and I mean it more often. But that really shaped me. And now that I've had some time to love you too, Elijah. Now that I've had some time, and it's really been because I broke my leg this year. You know me, I broke my fibula, and I was off my feet for almost 3 months, and I was confronted with me, and I had the option to fall into predictable misery, but like my brother John says, I decided to do the hard thing instead. Instead of falling into misery, I decided to look for purpose. And, and I found it, and I'm sharing it with you in this. Um, you know, Not just in the church, not just in the pulpit, in the traditional sense, but in this forum, I really want to be more open about some of these experiences, some of these emotions. And maybe you're not used to hearing a man get this emotional. Deal with it. This might not be the one for you, but if you're thinking that, if this is off to you, ask yourself why. Why is it strange to you? Or a man, why is it strange for a pastor to be talking about things like depression and anxiety and PTSD? Ask yourself why that's a weird thing. I'm just like you. I'm just a person trying to make sense of this thing. And I'm not I haven't arrived. I'm not the prototype. I'm not better than you because of anything. I am, I got all kind of problems and issues I'm still working through. But I also know that I've got purpose inside of me that is bigger than whatever comes. And that's not just that's something that I want to be able to share with anybody who will listen. I want you to see that there is peace and there is hope and there is even joy after whatever it is you think has left you completely broken, without usefulness. You're just wrong. You're just incorrect if you think that you can't come through this. And if you don't have anybody who's gonna, be there for you and walk you to those uh towards that your path, I'm here for you. I'm here for you. Doesn't mean I got all the answers. I'm not a therapist, but I know a few. If you're in a dark place and you need, you whatever it is you need, I got a lot. I've got some people in the chat who are life coaches and therapists right now. I'm looking at their names. And I can help connect you with those kind of things because it isn't just something that you're just gonna get over. You didn't start it. It took a long time for me to build those kind of unhealthy habits, and it's also going to take some time, and it's taking a lot of time. I told you 8 years I've been in therapy. It's taking a lot of time for me to work through it. I'm still going through it. I still have my good days and my bad days. Um, but that doesn't mean that I am anything but human. And my hope for you, my prayer for you, as I'm wrapping this up for today, is that in this and in the subsequent broadcast that we do, that you see that you are not alone in your pain. You're not alone in in any of that. That there are a lot of times you'll be in a room full of people who are all wearing a mask, pretending that they're okay, and you just don't know. And when you're in the midst of your stuff, it's hard to see that. And I want to, I just want to, I'm just bearing my issues to give you the room that you could do the same. And it's scary and it's difficult going through, a letter like the one I just read to you guys. It's not easy. It's not fun. You could really, but I'm finding out that I'm a lot stronger than I thought I was. And I've got a lot kinder words for that little, that kid looking at those Polaroids than I thought I did. And I want you who are listening to be able to have that same thing. Some of you who are listening right now, I know you'll be up here next to me on one of these subsequent episodes because I'm not going to be the only person talking on this platform. My hope is to have some of you who want to share your own stories, um, because maybe you've got a different perspective altogether. And I want you to see that. I just hope that we can see my vision for this thing is that we continue to see that there is hope after what feels like brokenness, that there is a way through. And, I know that I'm going to have a lot of people on here, I'm sure, who have found a different sense of peace. Mine is in my relationship with Jesus Christ. That's what it's been. The strong relationships in my family, and in therapy and in expressing myself in the arts and in music and in writing. But it had to be everybody's story. I'm not a, I'm unabashedly, a pastor, but I also want to give voice to anyone who wants to share their journey, because we all need each other. And, so that's what I'm looking forward to. I put it in the chat, I mean, in the comments, that if you would like to be a part of this experience, this thing that we're doing, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it's going to become. But if you'd like to be a part of it, you're welcome. There's a place for you. and I am confident that as confident I am that I went from the brink of that I went from abusing alcohol myself and being on the veterans on the VA suicide hotline one day to sitting before you with some peace and joy and being able to say I'm really okay, that this thing can be done, and that it doesn't have to you don't have to just stuff it all down and have a mental breakdown every now and again, that you can have some peace after all, and that you'll find that when you start making your existence more less about just you and looking for ways to help other people, you really start to heal. And I was on the phone with someone who called me feeling anxious yesterday, or it might have been Sunday. But a lot of the good advice I was giving them, I had to turn and offer to myself. I'm sitting here thinking, man, Dave, you know what you're talking about. And it's that God has worked that out through me. And I know that I'm nobody special, that I'm the only person who that's true of, that it can be the same story for you. So that's what Broken for This is all about, guys. That's why I'm doing this. I'm not, I don't have any plans to ask anybody for money. I don't have a cash app for this platform or anything like that. It's just me and my microphone and my camera. That's it. I'm gonna invite you to do the same thing. I'm not trying to, be anything but a beacon of hope for somebody, and a place where my hope is that this will become a place where people can come and bear those things and shed some light on some of those dark places and begin the healing process. You can't conquer what you refuse to confront. You just can't. I wish there was an easier way. And I'm not saying that everybody's got to get behind their camera and read a bunch of their most personal thoughts. I don't think that's realistic, but that's my assignment, and I'm going to be faithful to it. Um, so that's what I got for you guys tonight. Uh, I don't see any questions or anything in the live chat right now, but I'll be keeping an eye on the YouTube and Facebook and Spotify, um, the podcast, just to see what kind of comments there are. If you if you are if you do find yourself wanting to be a part of this, reach out to me. You can message me on Facebook, or you can email me brokenforthis@gmail.com. And let's talk. And if maybe you might reach out and just say, hey, I'm struggling and I never told anybody that I'm feeling like this, and I just whatever it is, I don't know. Or you're like, say, I'm living here. Can you help me find a good therapist? Yeah, whatever it is, I want to help you. Um, I want to help you get on that path towards healing. You can heal, you can learn, you can grow, and you can look for ways that you can be a blessing to somebody else. I know it's possible because it's my life story. And yeah, so I'm just grateful. Thank you all for hanging in there and for talking in the chat. It means a whole lot to me, especially with this first one with just me on this channel. Um, yeah, yeah. That's broken for this, guys. So this will be what we're doing for a while. And next week or so, I'll do another one of these letters, and in between, I'll call somebody else up. Some friends of mine or people who have maybe just seen the channel and want to do this. Get you on here and let you tell your own story. Um, yeah, I'm confident, I'm hopeful. I know that this will be good. And don't be afraid. Don't be ashamed. Just because you reach out doesn't mean you got to get on camera or whatever. Not necessarily. But I will just say, don't suffer in silence. Don't do it. Don't try to do it by yourself. What I can tell you for sure is that there are better ways to do it than that. And I am here for you, for whatever that's worth. All right. So thank you guys again. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And On the next one, we'll be delving a little deeper into the life of a little boy whose dad wasn't there for him and how that changed me. I'm going to continue to give you some of this, some of this perspective that I have now, 40 years later, some of the things that I didn't know then that I know. And I hope that it'll be something that you'll enjoy, that you'll tell your friends about. Um, I'm not trying to be rich or famous off of this. I'm really just trying to be a blessing to somebody. Let my story be a, be a lighthouse for somebody who's in a storm. All right. Uh, I'm so grateful for you. I say it, I say it often, and I'll let it be a tagline on Broker for this. Listen, I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Try me. Have a great rest of your night, and I will see you on the next episode of the Broken for This podcast. Take care of yourselves and each other. All right. Love you.